everyone, how you doing? I hope you're all doing really well today. I'm Lindsay, your host of the Heavy Metal Journal and writer for This Day in Metal, and I'm back with New Metal Monday, where I talk about my favourite new releases of the week, and I have 6 brand new albums that I want to talk about. It has been an absolutely massive week for new releases. Huge names have released albums this week and I'm super excited about it. So I'm just going to jump straight in, especially because I've got 6 to talk about. Okay, so first up on my list, of course, the biggest release of the week was Nile with The Underworld Awaits Us All, and it's the 10th studio album from the brutal technical death metal band. Now, before anybody asks, if anybody asks, because I think it's a very niche select few of you who are actually interested in this series that I've been doing on my channel, but my metal history series is coming back. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, because to be fair, I think the last metal history video I did was potentially before Christmas, so I'm really sorry about that. What I do is I delve into metal tracks, metal albums that are history themed, mythology themed, and I talk about the historical events, figures, and the mythology behind those particular albums. And I have been carrying out an analysis on one of Nile's previous albums. So I will be picking that up again. I have been doing research, but it's quite complicated. And one of the figures that I'm studying at the moment is probably one of the biggest figures in Egyptian history. So it's very complicated and very confusing. I absolutely love it. I am in my element, but please bear with me. Those videos are definitely coming back. It's just taken me a little while longer to actually get the research and the structure in place to make a video like that, because for lack of a better term, I don't want to half-ass it. I want it to be a really good video that is both factually and historically accurate. So it is definitely coming. I have loads of paperwork to get through. Anyway, let's talk about this new album. I've rambled on enough as it is, but I believe that Nile are at their most brutally ferocious at the moment, and this album has not disappointed whatsoever. You have your furious blast beats, you've got your chugging guitars that are incredibly intricate and detailed in their riffs. The guitar work and the production in this in particular is just absolutely outstanding. And the vocal style, well, we all know that the vocals are incredibly brutal, but there is just some unhinged power and energy behind them on this record. And the subject matter, once again, is just devastating. Quite possibly one of the longest track names I've ever come across that has a really brutal history behind it. If you haven't checked that out, I suggest you go and do so, because it's fascinating and just horrific. Absolutely horrific. But the thing that I really liked about this is, yes, it's brutal, yes, it's devastating, very technically precise, and it's just a cacophony of absolutely unhinged madness. But you've also got all of those fanatical kind of choirs that come into play, and there's tiny little elements in there as well that really makes it quite addictive and enticing. But I loved this record. I cannot get enough of it, and I keep listening to it over and over again. So if you are a fan of the likes of Immolation or Suffocation, Dying Fetus, that kind of brutal, technical death metal sound, but with Mesopotamian histories and Egyptology and Lovecraftian themes thrown into the mix, this one is definitely for you. But I can tell you for a fact right now that this is definitely going to be on my top 40 of 2024. Where? I don't know. You'll have to wait until the end of the year for that, but it will definitely be up there. Cannot get enough of this album. Love it. Okay, so next up on my list, I have Spectral Wound with Songs of Blood and Mire. And this is pure, raw black metal at its absolute finest. Now, when I say raw, the energy is very raw. It's very energetic, it's very powerful, and it has that gorgeous black metal shreddage that I absolutely adore. But the production is crisp, and it is so very detailed and executed so very well at the same time as well. The vocal style is very guttural, very rasping, and very demonic, but there's no pomp and pageantry in this. Yes, we all know that I love my melody and the synths and the keyboards and the dense atmosphere, but this is very guitar centered, and it's the guitar style that creates that ominous kind of dark atmosphere without the use of any synths or keyboards, and they do it so very well. Proper raw black metal goodness. The riffs are incredibly addictive. The blast beats in this are thunderous, really heavy bass lines, very powerful vocals. It's very cold, bleak and enticing at the same time, and it's just going to absolutely rip you to shreds. This is a very high contender for me on my top 40 albums of 2024 as well. In fact, that list is growing incredibly long at the moment, so I think I'm going to have another hard time of it this year, getting it whittled down to only 40. But Spectral Wound, I absolutely love. This is the kind of black metal that I really enjoy without the synths and the keyboards. I love the synths and the keyboards, but when I just want straight up black metal without any of that, but still with that atmosphere, this is the kind of black metal that I turn to. Now, even though it is very, very heavy, incredibly blasphemous, it's fun as well, and you can really tell that the band are enjoying themselves when they're creating this album, and that kind of gets reflected back. So when you know that the band are enjoying themselves, you're going to pick up on that energy as well. Yes, it's dark. Yes, it's very, very harsh and very, very foreboding, but it's quite fun at the same time as well. So if you are a fan of the likes of Halder or Lamp of Murmur, Hell Ruin, that kind of sound, this one is definitely for you, but I really, really enjoyed this. Speaking of pomp and pageantry, the next one I have on my list here is Fleshgod Apocalypse with Opera, and this is symphonic technical death metal. Now, of course, I was going to have this on my list because it's operatic, it's dramatic, it's theatrical, there's lots of orchestrations, there's lots of choirs, but the guitars are crushing and the drums are just completely unrelenting. The noise that comes from this record is just going to completely blow you away, but it's executed really, really well at the same time as well. So yes, I enjoy the orchestra side of things and the choirs when I'm not listening to metal or Norse and pagan stuff. I do listen to quite a lot of classical music as well, and I'm really happy to see that, keeping in theme of Opera, the name of the album, they've incorporated a lot of Italian composers and operas into this album as well, which really creates this very dynamic, dramatic atmosphere, and it's very swelling and it has this very, very powerful, dense presence about it. The vocals go between the harsh gutturals and the clean female vocals, but also, like I said, the operatics and the choir as well. And it honestly feels like you are at an opera when you're listening to this. It has that kind of uplifting feeling about it, but it's very, very heavy at the same time. The blast beats in this are a real standout moment for me throughout this entire record because they are absolutely insane. They are so heavy and they just keep going. So if you are a fan of the likes of Septic Flesh, XDO, Horion, that kind of sound, this one is definitely for you. I've always had a soft spot for this band because they are very dramatic and theatrical and over the top, and they are very in your face, but they're very talented when they do it. It's not cheesy in the slightest. It's very artistic, and I absolutely loved this. Okay, so next up on my list, I have Demiser with Slave to the Scythe, and this is blackened thrash metal. I love black metal. I love thrash metal separately as separate genres, but when they're combined, black and thrash metal are definitely up there with some of my favourite subgenres of metal. This is a very, very heavy record. Riffs, 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 and more riffs. This is a very guitar-centred record. The riffs are intricate and detailed. The solos are screaming and flying absolutely everywhere. The guttural vocals are right bang in between that thrash metal and black metal style. Very raspy, very energetic, and very powerful, but you can understand them at the same time, and that's what I really like about my vocals in my metal music as well. But even though this is a very heavy record, it's so addictively catchy. The hooks and the melodies in this are very enticing, and you just want to listen to this over and over and over again. So as well as it being very dark and very heavy and very ominous, it's fun. It's a really fun, bouncy, jumpy record, and it's the kind of thing that you want to listen to when you want something really heavy, but you also want something fun and enticing and easy to listen to as well. So if you are a fan of the likes of Hellripper or Wraith, Devastator, Grave Ripper, those kind of bands, this one is definitely for you. Keep an eye on this band because these guys are going to be going somewhere huge and I absolutely love them. I've loved everything that they've done so far. Black and thrash metal is definitely up there for me and this record was amazing. Okay, so next up on my list, I have Simone Simons with Vermilion, and this is a dark electronica symphonic death metal record from the lead singer of Epica, Simone Simons. This is her debut solo record. This is incredible. Now, I like a lot of my synth, I like a lot of my keyboards, and I do dabble in a little bit of synthwave and dark electronica from time to time. And if you combine that with Epica, basically, that's what you get with this record. This is very grand, very, very dense on the symphonics and the electronica side of things, but you've also got a lot of the operatics, the orchestration, and the death metal as well. So ridiculously catchy. This record is a proper earworm. It'll bury itself into your brain and you'll be hearing these hooks, these riffs, these melodies and symphonics over and over and over again. Simone has collaborated with the famous Dutch producer and composer Arion, and not only that, but Arch Enemy's Alyssa features on this record as well. Very dynamic, very multi-layered, very dramatic, and incredibly captivating. This record is so captivating, it's unreal. Very, very catchy, but it's very heavy on the heavy metal side of things as well. There's a lot of death metal and melodic death metal elements as well as the orchestration, and it's very, very dense on the electronica side of things as well. So if you are a fan of that kind of dramatic symphonic death metal like Fleshgod Apocalypse, or even if you are a fan of the likes of Nightwish or Tarja's solo stuff, and if you like that kind of electronic, bouncy, kind of addictive, melodic kind of sound as well, such as Pain, you're definitely going to want to get onto this one. I loved this. I cannot get enough of this. It is so ridiculously addictive. But even though it's fun and melodic and very addictive, there's something very dark and ominous about it. It is a very, very dark record, but it's going to keep you hooked. Definitely check it out. But the very last album that I want to talk about is Dawn Treader with Bloom and Decay. And this is atmospheric post-black metal black gaze from London in the UK. And they have coined themselves as a solo anti-fascist post-black metal project. Yes, this is another solo black metal project that I absolutely love. Anybody that's followed me for more than 5 minutes on here or on Twitter will know that I adore my solo projects, and this one completely blew me away. It opens with this gorgeous cinematic instrumental, but it also has those flurries of black metal riffs that makes it really heavy and dynamic, but it's very atmospheric and ethereal at the same time. But then when that ends after about 5 minutes or so and the next track comes into play, it rips you open with this almighty roar, and you have your classic black metal shreddage, your blast beats, and just this ferocious energy that just storms straight ahead and does not stop. This is a densely atmospheric record. This record, it does have vocals, but it does center mainly around the instrumentation, so it's very guitar focused, lots of riffs, lots of shreddage, and a lot of really nice small detailed intricacies as well at the same time. It's very emotionally charged throughout, very ethereal, very atmospheric, but brutal and heavy at the same time. This black metal is so beautiful, very harsh, very devastating, very, very heavy, but it does also focus on that ethereal kind of melodic beauty. Plus, check out that artwork. You know, you have that juxtaposition between death and decay and bloom. So you've got the butterflies, you've got the skeleton, you've got that scenery. That kind of vibe that you get from the album artwork is exactly what this album delivers. This is gorgeous. This will definitely be on my top 40 at some point as well. Definitely check this one out, especially if you are a fan of Alcest, Algaloch or Vemod, you're definitely going to want to get onto this. But don't sleep on this. Try it out. It's something different, and I think you're going to like it. And that's it for this week's very rambly New Metal Monday. Once again, comment down below to let me know what you think of today's records. And if you have any of your own recommendations, let me know and I will definitely get them checked out. Check out the description box below, because not only will you find all of my social media handles that you can follow me on, there will be a link to the This Day in Metal website that I write album reviews for. We also do breaking news, special features and interviews throughout the metal world on that website as well, so definitely check that out. That's a really cool place to be. Also, there is a Spotify playlist down there which will feature every single album that I talk about on my New Metal Monday videos, just so you guys can find the music as easily as possible. If you don't use Spotify though, don't worry about it, because I will also be including the band's Bandcamp links below as well. Thank you so much, and I will see you very soon in my next video.